In 1963, my mom was pregnant with me, and she went to see the gynecologist, and when she had her visit with the doctor would look at him, hear my heart with the stethoscope and feel my kicks, and he said, this baby is going to be a boy because his heart beats very, very hard, and he gives really, really hard kicks. So my parents were expecting a baby boy. They were going to name him Eduardo. And the day came, and surprise, no? So they changed my name from Eduardo to Irma Sofia. So I was 40 years past, and I was with some of my girlfriend artists, and I was telling them the story. And I realized at that moment that the name that I should be my name was Eduardo. And I decided to I told them, from this day on, just call me and refer to me as Eduardo. That happened in 2006. In 2008, 2010, I went to do art residency in Oaxaca. And I decided to present myself to everybody as Eduardo. It was easy because nobody knew me there, right? So people were very perplexed. They would look at me up and down, and you would see like this big question mark. For sure they were asking if I was gay or transvestite or transsexual, Some of them kind of kept it to themselves, but some of them asked me right up front. And I would just say, no, I'm a heterosexual woman and my name is Eduardo. It didn't matter if their socioeconomical status, their grade of education, their sex, or their age. Most of them had a really, really hard time naming me by that name. So some of them kind of, Eduarda, right? And I said, no, this is my name. So it was really, I said, well, what does Edward, in this case, mean? What is the significance behind the name? And I went to the internet and everything, and I realized that Eduardo comes from a German name called Herbert, which is composed of two words. One is Her, that means riches, and Word, that means guardian. So Eduardo means guardian of the riches. Obviously, that name was not fit for a woman, or did not fit a woman, because it was full of these male characteristics. And what are male characteristics and what are female characteristics? There are two concepts. One is polarity and one is duality. And those two concepts usually are kind of confused. Polarity is having a term that means the opposite but are complementary. And duality is having those two distinct concepts or different concepts, but they are completely separate. Here in the Western world, there is a confusion with polarity and being dualistic, the dual. So when we talk about in the West, when we talk about this male characteristics, we associate it with being a guy, right? So all these male characteristics go all to men, and the female characteristics go all to the women. So what happens with this? There is this really rigid structure where men have to be active, they have to be dominant, they have to be aggressive, and they have to act in the public sphere. And women have to be passive, submissive, and they have to be in the private sphere, right? So with women's liberation, what happens is that women have had the opportunity to be close to the male characteristics or the male energy, because once they're out in the world, they have to cope, they have to navigate this male structure in which we live. So we've had the opportunity of having this balance, but guys have not had that opportunity, most guys. So this change in paradigms has made men at first feel confronted very strongly, right, and with opposition. And then with the passing of time, it has been progressive into a passive um, acceptance of this new structure, where they kind of say, where's my place? What is expected of me now, right? We have these powerful women that already, they have already this economic liberation, and they have these positions of power and dominion, and so guys are in that situation. These new generations, and I'm talking about this because all this leads up to this what we're looking at right now. So, my work as a textile artist, I've been investigating and kind of thinking about these questions about gender, about identity, and about balancing these things. So, and I think it had to do with the story that I told you about being a guapo, or being thought as a boy because of my heart, how it beat my heart. And also the idea of having well, yeah. So this is what happens with what I've been thinking. So the story that I told you about Eduardo, and something that happened to me in Italy, kind of around this. What happened in Italy was in 2017. I went to have an art residency in Italy, in a place called Belforte del Chianti, which is a very small town, very close to La Tuscany region. And that's a very small town. There's about 2,000 people that live there, and it's a medieval town. So I went there, and I stayed 3 months. And the only thing I took was my little scissors. I like a lot of cutting. My favorite scissors. I didn't take any material, I didn't take any fabric, I didn't take any idea, because I wanted the place to kind of dictate what I was going to be working during my residency. And when I got there, I saw a town that had been hit with 2 very big earthquakes the year before. So this town, all the medieval buildings they couldn't be used, and they were sustained with all these steel, ropes and all these wooden beams just waiting to be established or reestablished, or made usable again. And so I took photographs of that, and then I took photographs also of the people there. There were a lot of processions in that town. There, religious processions, and the nature part of that surrounded the place was just incredibly beautiful. So what I did is that I took the pictures and I worked them with a computer, and then I printed them on canvas. And then on that, I cut little pieces of fabric, little pieces of lace that were embroidered with chapira and with beads, and everything. And I would place them on the photograph, and then I would do the embroidery. And the idea behind that was to kind of give back the strength, the beauty, and the balance to the area. But what I realized that not only the buildings were in those fragile states, I realized that also the people from the town were there. It's a small town, so you get to know the stories of everybody around. Some of them were, happy stories. Some of them were not so happy. So I decided to do another series involving the people and the friends that I had made in Belforte del Chianti. So I talked to my girlfriends and my guy friends, and I invited them and said, I want to make some photographs, some portraits of you. But before I do that, I'm going to take all these little pieces of fabric and lace and embroidery and everything, and I'm going to glue them to your face. And then I'm going to take the picture. And I knew exactly that my girlfriends were going to be 100% in, but I was really kind of iffy about my guy friends. And I said, I don't know about that. But it was very, very surprising to see the enthusiasm of my guy friends. participate. So the day came, and one by one they started coming. They come, and I would already have on a table all the pieces of fabric that I was going to use on them, the color, the texture, the forms. It had to do with their story that I had already known, right? They would come, I did the gluing and everything. We did a little meditation, and then I took the picture. And it was just an incredible experience. Especially afterwards, the guys didn't want to take off the little things on their faces. And they said, I feel so comfortable. I feel so balanced, in peace. So we, kept talking about the experience, and we kept talking also a little bit more profound on their stories. So that, made me think about the necessity of that these guys needed to really connect and to express and talk about their life and their situations. So every time I've shown those pictures, I've shown them in some, a couple of shows. Have guys come up and say, I really identify with this story, and even they kind of, if you ever want to repeat it, I'd be happy to pose for you in that thing. So, when the pandemic hit, right? I was in a crisis, like I think most of us was, and I didn't know what I was going to do, what's going to happen. I'm an artist. What am I going to do? How am I going to be? What am I going to be? So I started like questioning how unbalanced we were, how unbalanced